Today we're replacing the blower resistor and the pigtail on this 2003 Ford Ranger. The blower fan speeds have been acting up. Only the high speed and low speed work, which is usually a really good indication the blower resistor is bad. These pigtails on these blower resistors are really common to fail also, so it's a really good idea to replace them both while you're in there. Alright, first thing you need to do is just disconnect the plug going to the blower resistor. This air conditioning switch is a little in my way, so I'm just going to unplug that. Gives me a clear shot to it. What you do is just pull up on this tab, and there's another one underneath, and give it a tug, and it's out. On this one, you can see looking in there, the connectors are really rusty. That's going to cause all kinds of problems. That will it won't allow current to go through there, and it'll cause havoc on your blower speeds. So that's one of the reasons we're going to replace that. Some vehicles, they'll get burnt up and they'll get melted looking, and that's why you have to replace it. But these Rangers, they're notorious for rusting like that. So once we get that out, we'll deal with that in a minute. First thing we're going to do is change the blower resistor, which is right here. Plugs on this truck is right here. A lot of cars, it's up underneath the dashboard. This one's actually under the hood. It's really simple. It's got two. You can see it's got two bolts. One's right here. The other one's right here. So they're just 8mm little bolts. We'll take those out. That's the old resistor. You can see that thing's all rusty and corroded looking too. Common failure point on these Ranger ones. This is a diode. That diode goes bad. When that fails, then the whole resistor will stop working. Another reason they quit working is the rust buildup between these little connectors in here. All that rust in there, that'll keep current from flowing through them, which will cause problems. So there's just a variety of things that'll go wrong with these. So we're just going to put a new one in along with that pigtail. Alright, so we got our new resistor. We're just going to slide it in here. It'll just kind of sit there until you get the bolts in. Alright, now we just tighten down these two bolts. You can get them started by hand. Just snug them down. They don't have to be real tight because they're just going into plastic. Now before you cut this old pigtail off, what you want to make note of is just, most of these cars will have various colored wires, but you want to cut it off where there's enough colored wire left so that you can match it up when you go to install the new pigtail. So we'll cut these wires off one by one, and then we'll solder them onto the new pigtail. Alright, so yeah, what we'll do is cut these off one at a time. Okay, now see, we left enough room here so we can see what colored wires came out. So if you look at the new pigtail, it's got all black wires. So you can see here, this wire is going to connect to the green, this will be the black, this will go to the orange, and this will go to the yellow. So now we'll trim this down a little bit and get these ready to solder on. Alright, you want to leave enough room to work with, but it can be a little bit longer than the factory one as it was after you cut it off. But you don't need all this excess wire. At least not in this case. If you cut that much off, then you will. But okay, once you get those shortened, you're going to want to strip them. I have a pair of wire strippers here. I'm going to pull about that much length off of each strip. Now those are ready to solder, and you want to do the same with the factory harness. Just do them one at a time. An important side note, which I just realized I did not do, you want to disconnect your battery. So let me do that real quick. Alright, so now got the battery disconnected, which I should have done at the beginning. Go ahead and strip some of the wire off all of these. Okay, so now we've got all four wires on both ends ready to connect. So now it's just a matter of matching up the original colors and then soldering them. And these pigtails even come with nice heat shrink, so we'll put some heat shrink on there too, so it'll be a nice looking connector. Alright, so we got 3 of the wires here. You want to verify again, just keep an eye on your connectors, make sure you got all the colored wires going right. Green on the bottom, green, black, black, orange on the side, orange on the side. So our last one's going to be this yellow. Real quick to show you how to do that, just slide the piece of heat shrink tubing over one of the wires, and then connect it together here. The kit comes with these little metal connectors, which are optional. You can crimp them together before you solder it, but I've always done it like so. And then the best way to do it's a soldering iron. I don't have a soldering iron with me, so I'm just using a small torch. You just need to get the wire hot enough here, whoop, so that the solder will flow on. Just keep a little bit of heat on there enough. Be careful you don't burn yourself. It's really better to be wearing gloves doing this. It's not the cleanest solder, but there you can see it float on there right nicely. So next we'll let it cool down a little bit, then we'll slide the heat shrink up and we'll heat shrink them on. Alright, we've got all four of them soldered. I got the heat shrink slid up on the connector that we soldered. So now we just apply a little bit of heat to these these heat shrink tubes. Doesn't take much, just real light heat, and you'll see it shrink down right over the wire there. Just do that to all four of them. That'll make a nice weather-tight seal. There, now we have one permanently installed pigtail harness. Now all we do is plug it back in, and we're good to go.